Week 2 of Chuck Fleischmann. We're going to talk about all things energy. We're going to do some other things. We're going to go back and look at appropriations. We're going to start our show talking a little bit about where the budget's going and what we're going to spend money on and where we're going in and outside of energy. There's other things in the world going on. Tax rates, other things that we can do. We started a little bit about Tennessee's involvement in nuclear energy and Bill Lee and his fund. We haven't hit that yet, and that's important. You know, $50 million commitment to development of nuclear and some of that. We'll get to that in a second. Yes. But anyway, we got all that to do, and this is the second part of an 8-week series on the Department of Energy and all the energy needs we have in this country. And we're going to talk a little bit more about electricity in this show, too. I want to talk about ways to do not just electricity, but other things and the developments and what the congressman is probably the most expert official in the country on these kinds of things that we can talk about. Welcome back.
It's great to be back. Thank you so much, Alan. It's always good to be on the show.
Okay. Well, thanks for dropping back in. We thank our sponsor, Navarra, who supports so many different agencies within the Energy Department and does such a great job. And
civic activities right here in Oak Ridge.
Yeah, and all
very philanthropic.
She's very philanthropic. Yes, she is. Yeah. And Susanna does a great job on that stuff. Congressman, let's talk a little bit about the overall budget. People have to understand that we talk about cuts. You got to go through CRs, budgets, negotiations, conferences. Tell people how the budget gets from here to there.
That is an excellent question because most Americans don't know this. I didn't know it before I went to Congress, and I was always, well, you got to cut this and cut that. Okay, the federal government operates on an annual fiscal year. It begins October the 1st and ends September the 30th. So that's instead of a January to December, it's that's what it is.
October 1st. Yeah.
Yes. During that year, the government is supposed to have, like a family, like a business, an operating budget. Revenues that come in from taxes, from tariffs or whatever, and revenues that go out for spending for whatever. Now, having said that, each year, under a law that was passed in the early 1970s, the president is required to submit a budget to Congress. Now, this year, President Trump has done that. It's basically what we call a skeletal or skinny budget. It lacks a lot of specifics. All presidents do that, but they give a blueprint of where they want to go. Then they come to me on the Appropriations Committee. And remember, I tell people there are two types of people in Congress, Alan. And most people say, well, Republicans and Democrats. I say, well, yes and no. Appropriators and authorizers. Now, an authorizer makes the laws. The appropriators, and I'm the only appropriator in the House in Tennessee.
Let's stop there because people that gets confusing. Okay, so you have a Department of Labor. Okay.
Yes.
Labor and Education. You got authorizers who decide what the money is going to be spent on.
Well, they create a framework. They say you should do this. That's right. You should. Yes. The answer is yes.
But you can't vote to authorize a budget if it's not being considered by that group, can
Well, that's a great question. And now, we are not supposed to be able to authorize in an appropriations bill. Sometimes we do. So the question is, this is Congress. It gets a little gray. But the reality is, for purposes of Budgetary 101, you're right. They say, this is where we want you to spend the money. And then we decide, well, maybe we will and maybe we won't. So
what's the purpose of that committee's? They're
existence? Authorizing us. They're telling us what we should and should not do, okay? And they're coveted. The main authorization committees are Energy and Commerce, E&C, which would be for my world, okay? But I chair Energy and Water Appropriations, so I would go in.
What about defense? Do they have
They do. They have armed. That's a great thing. Dr. Desjardins is on the Armed Services Committee, which is the big defense authorization committee, but I sit on the coveted Defense Appropriations Committee. So,
but I want to know about the other side. I know what appropriations does.
Yes.
The authorizers
The authorizers.
Why would I want to be on authorizers? Why would I want to?
Well, that's what I tell all my friends of authorizers. I'm an appropriator. I'm a cardinal. If you're an appropriator, whether you're a Republican like me or a Democrat on the Appropriations Committee, by virtue of that, you're in the extreme minority in Congress, because everybody else who's not an appropriator is an authorizer on Ways and Means, on Energy and Commerce, on Financial Services, Veterans Affairs, you name it. That's why, as appropriators, we're so powerful.
So
we control the purse strings.
Of course, a lot of people don't want to be appropriators because
you spend money.
Yeah, you get a black mark on your resume.
From some.
Well,
until you,
as a Republican, it's not that popular.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. That's exactly.
As a Democrat, it's coveted.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean,
Dems
Lord,
fight for years. Dems fight for years to get on the Appropriations Committee, and they don't term limit on the Appropriations Committee. We term limit 3 terms, and then we have to go to another subcommittee. So I chair Energy and Water now. I'm in my second term there. I can probably get a waiver for another 2 years on that. But a Dem can actually sit there 30, 40 years if they want to, if they keep their people happy. But it's tougher for them to get on the committee because, again, they just don't have the mobility that Republicans do. But bottom line, on the budgets, the president brings it to me and all the other subcommittees in the House, and then the Senate has almost an identical framework as to us. So it will take 3 to tango: the president, House Appropriations, me, and Senate Appropriations to get a budget. If you get a budget, you win. We did that in 2024.
But you all can anticipate with each other.
Yes.
You all can anticipate basically what you need to do to win. I mean,
yes.
I mean, you know what they want. They know what you want. You have a little leverage on them.
Yes.
But remember, we're only 4 votes up in the House.
4 votes up in the House. We were 1 up a couple of months ago, so we're thankful. We're 4 votes up in the House. Senate has 53. And of course, if there's a tie, and there have been some ties, the vice president, who is constitutionally the president of the United States Senate, actually part of the legislative branch, J.D. Vance, breaks all tie votes over there. And,
sure.
But having said that, yes, we know when we see a budget what the Dems like. They know what we like. There's supposed to be a give and take because you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass a budget.
We talked about that last week.
It is not filibuster proof. And to get 4 in the House.
Why can't I call cloture every time? Why can't, I mean, we're going to get around the tax cut by not requiring 60.
Because that's a process called reconciliation.
Right.
And reconciliation is a mechanism that allows the Senate to do it by a majority vote, but they can only do it twice a Congress.
There's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Twice every 2 years. Congress is 2 years on.
Yeah, well, yeah, once a year. That's right. So for its first cycle, that's exactly right.
So they're not using on the tax.
So you don't. That we still don't know what they can get in there that they can pass. Everybody wants something, and then everybody doesn't want something.
But if you still have to have 51.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, for example, Northern moderates in the House want a higher SALT deduction. Okay, I don't particularly care for that, but I understand where they're coming from. Unlike the people in the great state of Tennessee who keep our local state taxes low, those northeastern states and our far western states have very high local taxes, property taxes. I mean, sometimes $30,000 a year for a house. It's unbelievable because they've not watched their budgets. They want those write-offs. So in order to get those northern moderates from New York and Philadelphia and California to vote for our bill, they want to see an increase in SALT. Conservatives.
Tell everybody what SALT is.
SALT is the deduction that people could take. Currently, it's at $10,000, where people who live in higher tax states can get a deduction for their local taxes on their federal income taxes.
Well, they want that to go up, right?
They want it to go up. And President Trump will work with them. It's at 10, maybe they'll get to 20, maybe the 25. They want 100. It's not going to happen. But the reality is there'll be a negotiation. But that flies all over the face of some of the more conservative members in the Freedom Caucus who say, hey, wait a second, we're rewarding those northern states that can't be fiscally responsible responsible with their local budgets to keep their taxes high. Okay, so our part of the world, our
when
property
President
taxes,
Reagan took out local tax deductions in the '86 package, I mean, it was a great move. He lowered thresholds. Remember, we should be 70% at certain levels and stuff. And he did a great job with that. I always missed the local tax, the sales tax deductions. And you could deduct everything before then. Of course, your taxes were real high too.
Taxes were very high. But the big battle on reconciliation will be over taxes and tax policy. What else you get, who knows?
So that one we can probably push through the tax cuts because we'll be able to.
I hope so, because taxes will go up.
We still have the House to work.
That's exactly right. But we've got to get that done and through the Senate. But it's been a lot of work. You put something
Well,
in.
it's the amendments, it's the add-ons that are going to
Yes.
cause the issues, not the tax cuts
That's right.
themselves because of that situation. Well, staying in the energy framework and electricity,
Yes.
and you get this budget done and we look at the electrical needs, you know, New England is just overwhelmed with high costs of energy.
It's killing them. California, too. With all their subsidies, with all the money that they've put in there, their power bills have increased in California like tenfold. It's unbelievable.
Newsom's changing his tone a little bit the last month or two.
Well, the last couple months or two, because he's realized that the Democratic Party, in all due respect, has just lost middle America in a big way on immigration, on energy. They've had brownouts. And if he has any aspirations, there is no way that a Democrat could be viable in a national election again if they keep down this path. And they're having a big battle in their party between their
and they're losing
left
because
of
all the
progressives
energy's
and
on the left. I mean,
That's right.
I mean, you know, that's my skill set. And the bottom line is that the moderate Democrats are trying to get some normalization. The Fettermans of the world and other people want to get some normalization. And you know, Fetterman, although or not, Fetterman was telling people 6 weeks before the election, Donald Trump's going to win Pennsylvania. I'm out here working every day. I know what's going on.
That's right.
And it's.
I wish I'd believed him. I worried up until the day.
Yeah, you did. You were calling me 3 times
I was
a day.
calling, and I was calling folks in Western and Eastern Pennsylvania. And one member we just got across, he said, Chuck, you don't have to worry. He said, Trump's going to win my district. He said, by 10 points. I'm going to win it by 2. He said, you don't have to worry about Donald Trump in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He's going to win. And he did.
That's true. So, but energy-wise, how do we solve those problems? I mean, is there
Supply. We have abundance in this country, Alan. We have abundant coal.
If we can get the
oil,
wells dug,
natural
we can get the
gas.
wells dug, they won't be able to shut them down. I'm telling you, no matter who wins, if
Yep.
we can get the wells moving, nobody's going to stop us.
We have oil reserves in this country that dwarf the Saudi oil fields, not only in Texas, Alaska.
Unmined reserves, not like
Yes,
Louisiana reserves. Right?
That's exactly right. They are there abundant, probably 300 or 400 years worth.
Don't we
of
have a
natural
mandate
gas.
to try to fill up the reserves in Louisiana? Don't we want to get?
Oh, you're talking about the strategic oil reserve.
Aren't they down a little?
Yeah. We're
That's
going to
what I
fill that
read.
back up.
Yeah.
We will fill that back up. Oil prices are down. Why? Supply is up, right? Which is good. You make more of it, the price will come down, and that's where the
Not good for Russia.
Not good for Russia. You're absolutely right. Because when Biden, with all of his mistakes, when the price of oil shot through the roof, Russia benefited that. They used those resources to fund the war.
Now
That's
there's
exactly
$58 a barrel. It's not 100.
That's right.
So they got issues on
They've got issues.
And that's the whole thing with Reagan and the Soviet Union. You didn't beat them with guns and tanks. You just starved the economy.
Well, and I can remember I was a conservative in college. And I was a political. All I did was worried about politics. You know, I should have been at football games and visiting the sororities, but no, I worried about.
Notice he didn't say fraternities.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to go see the ladies. I'm sorry, not the
Illinois
guys.
had a big campus.
And Illinois
Even
was a
you could
big
have got
Greek
a date in
system,
Illinois.
but I was poor, so I was too poor to join a fraternity.
I know
to be
that.
honest,
I just went shot ball.
so and but be that as it may, I digress. But when I was in college, I stood up in a 200-person lecture, and I said, Ronald Reagan is right. He's challenging the Soviet Union, and he's challenging on them on what? Nuclear arsenal. The left wanted to freeze. Okay. And he said, no, we are going to expand our nuclear capabilities. And the Soviets couldn't keep up. Ultimately, the Soviet Union crashed. And that was the end of that. We got the Russian Federation. But
USS Grant.
Yeah.
What are y'all fighting the war for strategically? Just put them all out there and let them go, and boom, he overran everybody. Got the right generals in place. I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, the Oriental armies, I mean, China, and North Vietnam, just eventually you can't fight anymore. You've been fighting too long. They got 20 where those 10 were. I mean, it's just, you got a massive number of advantages in armies. Yeah. And that's just a chessboard strategy.
But that was a strategic move by Reagan, and he was right. And I never thought I'd see the Soviet Union go away in my lifetime, and it freed up so much of Eastern Europe.
How will people's electric energy prices and gas prices be reduced with massive distribution, massive drilling and stuff? Will it really help?
Because, well, look at it this way. You've got the producers, and the producers sell to utilities. And I work with utilities all over the country. TVA, of course, is ours, but Southern Companies does a great job. They got Vogel up and running. They've got a good, diverse portfolio. Duke Power is great. So the utility is in a position where they've got to figure out, okay, what type of a mix do we want to have? How much natural gas, how much nuclear, how much hydro if we have it, out west how much geothermal. And then they have to say, okay, now, what is that cost going to be to the ultimate customer, that consumer? And in different parts of the country, you alluded to it, the Northeast, their power bills are through the roof. California, through the roof. In East Tennessee, in the Tennessee Valley, they are much lower than the rest of the country.
It's because TVA, right?
TVA, but we've managed the portfolio right. We don't spend on power generation that that makes no sense. We want to make sure that it makes economic common sense. So that's the key. So if you have more of something, the price will go down, and you can pass that on to consumers.
Do you think that? So what you're saying is, as oil prices go down $1, $2, $5, electricity gets cheaper.
Electricity will, natural gas, if you use it, will. If you continue down the path, nuclear, candidly, is a little bit more expensive on the front end, but now we're extending the life of even some of the old nuclear power plants by 20 years. So they said some of these.
Let's talk about 60. Legacy for a second.
Yeah.
The problem isn't being competitive in technology. The problem is the buildings at Y-12 and the buildings in other areas, which UCOR is coming in to remediate on a 10-year contract, my understanding. But we've got some serious infrastructure issues.
Well, absolutely. But again, in Oak Ridge, we do it right. You talk about UCOR, which is Amentum. They're great.
Yes, Amentum.
They're great. They do it all over the country. But what they do is they go in, they take down these old legacy buildings from the Manhattan era project, from the Cold War, and then they clean up those areas. And what we do here in Oak Ridge, whether it's in Anderson or Roane counties, we will go in then and revitalize that. And I will say this.
What does that mean, revitalize?
Okay, rebuild. And this is what was so important. It started with Ernie Moniz, went through Rick Perry, and now with this administration. When we get land that is cleaned up, that's in DOE's portfolio on their books, they transfer that back to Oak Ridge. That's great. And for free. That's so important. Once we get that back, we can actually build a new facility on that, revitalize it. It's economic revitalization, and get it back on the tax rolls. So what's great is it's a process. You clean it up, you get it out of the DOE portfolio, back on the books for locals.
But you can't do that in a classified area.
You can't do it in a classified area, but the classified areas are already internalized to the facilities that are operating, that are already built, that were good.
True, but they need to be revitalized.
Yes.
I'm not called building numbers, but I'm going to say that there are buildings in that portfolio that are still, they operate out of,
understood,
constructed in 1943.
Understood.
That has to be changed. That has to be rebuilt.
Ultimately.
Now, stuff off-site that needs to be done, I get that.
NNSA has come out with a building plan, and it was from the last administration. It was from Administrator Ruby, and I looked at that. It's ambitious. The reality is where do you get the dollars for the infrastructure part of that?
I got you.
So you're going to have to pick and choose and make.
You think that'll
choices.
slow down a little bit, the infrastructure
Yeah.
program? Okay.
Yes.
That's fair. That's fair.
But we're going to get UPF, the uranium processing facility, built. It's over budget. It's over time. We know that. There was COVID. There was a lot of different things in there.
I think this administration will change the game a little bit. I think they're going to say,
We'll get it built.
yeah, but I think they're going to say, we need this done by this, we need this done by this.
right.
If you can't do it, we'll get somebody else.
Yes, and there's
Not
big
just here,
projects.
everywhere.
Well, that's right. Savannah River, they've got the old MOX project that they're converting into a plutonium pit facility.
We need more pits.
Yeah, we need more pits. We built with Los Alamos. Obviously, is where pit production is primary, but they're going to do it eventually at Savannah River. That's for our nuclear arsenal. So, but
I thought they were talking about moving it out of there and expanding. Man, I don't know. I just
They'll
read,
do it
I read
above-
all this stuff. I don't know.
at both places, Los Alamos and Savannah River, and we want to make sure that all the other sites do well. But I take care of Oak Ridge.
Yeah,
first.
you do. Yeah, you do.
That's my
all right.
city.
So let me ask this question. Going back to electricity again, what does TVA cover? Help people understand how much ground TVA covers.
TVA provides low-cost energy to several states, and they do it very well. They operate by a federal charter, which controls everything. So many times, from CEO pay to what they can and can't do. I have more TVA holdings in my district than any member of Congress in the country. It's very important. So I stay immersed in that. TVA's job on the residential side and on the commercial side is to basically produce power, sell it to the utilities like EPB in Chattanooga, KUB in Knoxville. Sometimes if there's a big enough customer, I'll be specific, like a McKee Foods or a Volkswagen,
Sure.
they can sell direct on different things.
They sell direct to the federal government?
No, they TVA would sell direct to Volkswagen or to McKee.
So where does
or to
Y12 get their electricity? Who do they get it from?
They would get it from TVA ultimately.
No, ultimately, but not directly. So the city of Oak Ridge would provide that?
I don't know if they provide it or not, if it goes direct. Great story about that historically when General Groves showed up to the head of TVA on a quote-unquote secret mission and said, I need all this power from TVA for Oak Ridge and for what we were doing on the Manhattan Project. And the head of TVA said to him, you're a very nice man, but I'm sorry, all of our power is going to Alcoa in East Tennessee, and go on. So he persisted, and he said to him, look, let me make it easy for you, sir. You're a nice man, General, but unless you got a letter from the President of the United States, you're not going to get your power. And the general reached in his pocket, and he said, funny you should say that, a letter from FDR, give this man whatever he wants. So I'm guessing that power probably goes directly in still. It used to, I don't know. But it takes a lot of power to run supercomputers. It takes a lot of power to run nuclear reactors. It takes a lot of power to do the great things that we do at Oak
This
Ridge.
modern technology, from Bitcoin down to other things, electric cars and everything, they're relocating to Texas. Texas is becoming its own country. My dad said it was always a country, but that's fun.
Texans are very proud of Texas. I love Texas. I go down there a lot. I lecture there a lot. They love Tennessee, largely because of Davy Crockett. We showed up. We fought for them.
It's my good friend, Attorney General Stephen Hatchett down in our area, and he always says, you got to show up. You got to show up.
You got to show up.
Talking's easy.
I've spent a lot of time in Texas. They're big. They're strong. They've got they're energy dominant. My gosh, they've got it all. They got oil. They've got natural
Everybody's
gas.
coming in there.
But they have their own. They have their own grid. They have their own grid, and that actually had some problems a while back because they wanted to be independent, and when they had that storm. But great state. They work with us. Texas A&M actually runs the Los Alamos lab and is a great nuclear school.
So they are
almost as good as UT.
So at Texas A&M,
that's a plug.
They have a quarterback. Texas A&M is so they're going over to They're doing there what UT does at ORL.
Absolutely.
Okay, I got they're partnered up in the thing. I got
They won the contract with Patel to run
remember
that lab. So they are actually a very good nuclear school. All kidding aside, the University of Tennessee at Knoxville has one of the premier nuclear engineering programs
Oh, it
in the
always
country.
has.
And they did something recently that I was so thankful for. This was not my idea. If it's my idea, I would take credit. Somebody came up with the idea. Think about this. We want people to major in nuclear engineering. I do. But what if you want to be an engineer, but you don't necessarily want to major in that? You can minor in nuclear engineering now at UT. Brilliant idea. So, because many times I'll go into a nuclear facility, say, well, how many nuclear engineers we got? And maybe 3 hands will go up. And I said, oh my gosh, what do the rest of you do? Oh, we're mechanical, we're electrical, we're this and that.
I work with an engineering firm every day. I work for Tetra Tech, great company.
Oh, they're great.
And very, very skilled. And I bring the average down. But other than that, I mean, Tetra Tech
No, you don't.
is a great
They're
company.
lucky to have you.
Tetra Tech's a
They're
great
solid.
company. And and they're doing well. And the bottom line, though, is I go through the hallways. Mechanical seems to be the preferred degree for now. We have a lot of nuclear engineers because that's what we do.
Sure.
But mechanical is one of those degrees where you can move in all directions.
You can and you do, but kudos to UT. We are stronger, getting better every day. NC State is strong in that. The University of Michigan.
Let me
there's
just
very
jump
few.
in real quick. He'll get there later, but I'm going to jump in. You, my good friend Rich, the head of CNS.
Oh, I knew this was coming.
And Joseph.
Folks,
and
I
all
knew
of us.
this was coming.
We're going to Notre Dame's nuclear program in September.
That's right. We're going to teach him how to play football. But be that as it may, he's absolutely right. The University of Notre Dame has come to me. That's something I have to talk about with the new Pope. Maybe I'll get a few points on that, okay? It's been a few years. But I'm going to go to the University of Notre Dame. You're going to go. Rich is going to go. They produce.
And my good friend Joe's coming too.
That's right.
From Energy Solutions.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Joe Heckman, what a good guy.
Yeah, he's great.
So we ought to bring Sean Gleason, too.
South Philly gets the automatic qualifier.
Okay,
We'll get him in.
there you
He's
go.
a big Notre Dame
He'll do
fan.
something.
He texts me during the games. He's a big Notre Dame
That's
fan.
right. He can buy the Diet Cokes or something.
It's the old thing about you grow up watching the games with your dad. You weren't allowed to watch the Rudy Store, et cetera, et cetera. So when you get older, doesn't matter where
Yes.
you live or who you are or what you even believe in. The bottom line is you're still a Notre Dame fan.
So let's tell our. I found this out. The president of the University of Notre Dame, who's a priest, came. We sat and I spoke with their government relations people. Notre Dame produces more nuclear engineers for the Navy than there's only one other school that does more, and that's Annapolis.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So they said up there they want me to go see their holdings, and they want to continue to participate. Great story, great legacy.
One of the
I just
best graduate schools of business in the country.
And I didn't know
Charlie
they did
hires
that.
More, that's his highest recruitment school.
But I promise you, when I go there, I'll be wearing Tennessee orange.
We'll talk about it later. Me and Joe may have
That's
a different trend, but you should wear Tennessee orange.
there you go.
Be proud of it.
Yep.
And that's it.
We used to get our priests from Chattanooga come up dressed in orange when Tennessee would play Notre Dame. But they
My favorite thing is I'm watching the 73 national championship game where Notre Dame was playing number 1 Alabama and eventually won the national championship and beat them. And and on the sideline, there's this huge big guy who's a priest, what an advantage, et cetera, et cetera. And he was sitting there and he was looking around and everything. He's on the sideline, right? Chaplain. He was a chaplain. He said, you go down, they span down his clerics and it says, "Go Bama."
Yeah.
Number 1.
I understand.
Bear knew what to do, didn't he? Bear never beat him 0 for 4.
Wow.
Never lost by more than 4 points.
It's amazing. But bottom line is everybody wants to get in. Tennessee Tech, a great school.
It is a good
in
school.
Cookeville. Oh, it's
Good
wonderful.
engineering.
Smaller state school, engineering school. What did they do? They did it for me, and I helped them get it. And they're not even in my district.
Yeah.
And I love them. A new nuclear engineering program, okay? And they're doing so much.
Yeah, it's good. And our boys, our friends down there, Terry Saltzman, everybody
Terry
does a good
Saltzman,
job.
what a good guy.
Great guy. Okay, so let's go back to TVA's map. So
Yes.
they've got Alabama, parts.
They got half of Alabama.
How far over in Tennessee do we go?
Tennessee, this is amazing. I thought they had all of Tennessee.
Nope.
They've got 94 of 95 counties.
No
There's
show.
one county, up in northeast Tennessee that they don't have.
They're on the Virginia mode or something?
Yeah, they are. So they've got
Alabama and
Georgia.
Tennessee.
It's a little bit of Georgia, a little bit of Virginia, North Carolina for sure. trying to think. Oh, Mississippi for sure. They've got.
Well, they got to catch some Alabama then if they're going that way, right?
Oh yes, they've got half of Alabama. Southern Companies, which is, by the way, a really great utility, has the rest of Alabama, and they own Chattanooga Gas. Southern Companies does. So it's fascinating, and they got Vogtle up and running in Georgia. So important to get a big nuclear power plant.
Where is that power plant?
South Georgia.
Okay, makes sense down across the water.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to come back on this and take a break. We're going to take a break, Brad, for a minute and a half, and then we'll be right back. We're halfway through the second show with Chuck Fleischmann.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
America runs on power, and for nuclear power, we need enriched uranium, but almost all of it comes from overseas. In 2019, the Trump administration took action, working with Centrus to build the first new American-owned uranium enrichment plant in 70 years. And now, Centrus is ready to expand to meet our nuclear power and military needs, free from dependence on foreign suppliers. Centrus, American technology built by American workers.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving the environment for generations to come.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
I'm back. I'm sitting there reading. Had to get my glasses on. So energy's going out. Where's the biggest demand of energy on TVA that costs different things? I mean, on the electric side of it.
Well, that's
Is
a
there
great
commercial
question.
demand high?
Commercial demand high, residential demand is high. And let me kind of put this in perspective. For over a decade, TVA's demand for electricity was stable. It was not increasing.
Right.
And they were in a position where they said, well, we really don't need more acquisition.
That was 90s, 2000s?
90s into the 2000s. Okay. And basically, it has just boomed. It has not only boomed here in Tennessee.
Because of technology?
Demand.
But the demand isn't my home.
It's home, it's business. As our area grows, you bring in more people. The state of Tennessee has brought in more people.
That's true.
And largely in Middle Tennessee, but East Tennessee is growing so well.
Every county.
Yeah, and I mean when you look at Oak Ridge,
mass exodus from different parts of the country.
I drive down Illinois Avenue here, and I look at that mall, and I remember 15 years ago what Oak Ridge looked like. We are such a beautiful, vibrant community here. But what does that mean?
Say that.
Yes. So all of the above means more demand for energy. More demand means that they've got to produce it, or God forbid, they've got to go out and purchase it somewhere else. If you have to purchase it somewhere else, then it's going to cost the consumer more money, right?
Right.
So you've got to get to that right mix. And they've got a good mix at TVA. I mean, right now you're up to 47% nuclear for TVA. That's
pretty
huge.
Good.
That with existing facilities, about 11-12% hydro. You've got natural gas in there. You've got solar in there. So it's a good diversified portfolio. But
And this portfolio is all the resources to bring energy and electricity to whoever.
that's correct.
All right.
So we're doing a very good job here with TVA. Southern Company's great. Duke is great. Some of the other utilities are struggling in the country because they chose the wrong portfolios. But I can remember living in Chicago.
Portfolios
in the 80s.
meaning they didn't put enough into nuclear, or they didn't.
That's right.
I get you.
Or they didn't do nuclear right. I can remember.
How do you do nuclear wrong?
You pick. Excellent question. So good. Look at the state of Ohio. They had a nuclear group come together. They picked the wrong technologies. They lost money. They never got it done right, and their costs went through the roof. So you're over cost, over budget, wrong technology, and then you basically either give up or burden the ratepayer with that. So it's happening
Yeah.
in certain areas, but
That-
TVA does it right.
Before we go on to some other subjects that interest me in EM and other things, we're going to ask the question in a minute, which is, why is cleanup so important?
Oh, yes.
But right now, we're going to talk about the water plant in Oak Ridge. You've been so instrumental in getting that funded.
Thank you.
Why is it important? I mean, antiquated facilities, I got that.
Well, several years ago, the Department of Energy turned over the older, antiquated water plant to the city.
Huh.
Thank you, but no thank you. So it'd be like me giving you my 20-year-old car. You're thankful to get a car, but it's not going to keep up.
Right.
And I've worked very closely with the city of Oak Ridge and Mayor Gooch.
Mayor Gooch done a good job on that.
Yes.
He's got a lot of responsibility in that South Illinois development, too. He's done a good job.
Does. He and I work very well
Yeah, he's a good
together.
guy.
I mean, he's a damn M&R, but we put Oak Ridge first. And
Yeah.
I always tell him when he's in the room, there's only one other person that loves Oak Ridge more than me, and it's probably him. And I do love Oak Ridge, and you're a close third. This is home for you.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. But be that as it may, the city of Oak Ridge needed a water plant. DOE, for all the great things it did, would not give the city of Oak Ridge a water plant. Why do you need it? Well, you've got about 32,000 citizens here who need dependable water. You've got ORNL. You've got
Parts for the water, parts that don't exist anymore. You can't get repair parts.
That's correct.
If it breaks, you're done.
It's old. That's exactly right.
That's right.
But for what we do for all of our missions at Oak Ridge, you need water, and you also need a safe and secure water supply, God forbid if there's ever an incident, okay?
Right.
So we never got it. So I got together with the city of Oak Ridge over the years, and candidly, I'm going to use this term, I earmarked for a water plant. So a few years ago, I got $5 million one year, $5 million another year, $3 million another year. Last year, everybody lost their earmarks because the budget failed, and we got a continuing resolution. I think I've put in for 10 to 13 million for the Oak Ridge water plant for fiscal 26. Having said that, Oak Ridge needs and deserves a modern water plant.
It's already under construction, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we broke ground on that. The city's just done a good job on it. I really wish we could get this fully funded and just done.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of fully funded, you had a major role, and I want everybody to understand in Oak Ridge, we're a little off subject here, but a major role in getting Scarborough 95, or is it 85? No, 85. Getting the Scarborough Civil Rights Project here in Oak Ridge and the holographs and the museum built and fully funded, and you worked with Governor Lee to push that through.
this is something that really almost makes me tear up. Civil rights is so important to you. It is critically important to me. I've said time and time again, I've known you a long time. You've taken me to Scarborough. You and I love the African American community here and all across the country.
Willie Golden died
I did not know that.
last week. I forgot to tell you, 2 weeks ago, whatever. It was bad.
Well,
Love that guy. Go ahead.
but civil rights, in my view, I knew John Lewis very well. We did not vote alike, but we could sit down and talk about
Remember when he
civil
stopped
rights
me on the
together.
street? We were walking back
Yes.
to the Capitol, and he turned to me, John did, and he looked at me and he pointed at him. He said, "This is a good man." He was
Thank you.
he liked you very much.
Thank you. Why? Because we didn't do it in front of the cameras. We worked together to bring people together.
Yeah, you did.
And that's my heart.
And here you are
Oak
again,
Ridge.
getting it done in Oak Ridge. That's
Oh,
fantastic.
it
Give Lee
means
credit,
so
man. I
much.
mean, you really got it done. You had to push.
Well, Governor Lee, Randy McNally, and others worked very hard. I know Mayor Gooch supported it because he supports civil rights as
Sabre.
well. Sabre Beauchamp.
County,
I mean,
yeah, she did a good job.
and for our listeners, Aaron Wells, absolutely. Gleason, all these people are together, and I want our
But
watchers
it
to
started
know
with
this.
one phone call, didn't it?
Well, yes, it did. Rose Weaver,
No.
Charlie Ergen.
There you go.
Okay, well,
And when he calls, you pick the phone up.
when Charlie calls, I
Called
pick
me
the
up
phone
and I
up.
called you. And
For those who don't know, Charlie grew up here, great friend of
71
Alan.
graduate, 71 graduate.
I had the privilege of meeting his mother, wonderful
yeah,
lady.
we went on Easter weekend. We went over there
Yeah,
one day. I took her
yeah,
down there, and we
yeah.
were all there.
She
But
loved all her children.
I think you went a couple, 3 times down there.
Oh,
to visit
yes.
her. Once with Charlie and the family home. But the point was, and when he picked, he is. You talk about Doge. Doge is like a minor version of Charlie. He's so organized and so structured and so well thought out on things and accountable for things that he said, Alan, this is something we need to get involved in.
Yep.
Okay. I've taken orders for 60 years. Let's keep going here.
That's right. And Charlie's heart was there. He lives in Colorado now, but he comes in. The family home is still in Oak Ridge here.
Mary
Just a
owns it,
one.
yeah.
I love the Ergen family. You know them.
Mary. Yeah.
Oh,
Mary owns the house now. Yeah.
Yep. And you're family to them. I know you grew up.
Oh, we
with
are.
them. They
It's
love
just
you.
the way it is.
And Jeannie and is your sister. They're all close.
I have a sister.
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
she's the favorite.
She'll like
butcher.
that on the show.
She- yeah, she's
she
the
is the
favorite.
famous
I'm
one.
gonna call her
Sabre
today.
second, I'm third. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
That's right.
Okay. But
She
anyway,
always told me mom and dad loved Alan more. I don't know.
that's not
But
true.
favorite
That's not
Alan.
true. That's not
But
true.
that's okay.
The older one always gets pampered a little bit, but Jeannie was a star by the end.
But civil rights.
yes.
Scarborough 85 is a park that is going to be dedicated to the desegregation of the Oak Ridge schools, particularly Oak Ridge High School, which was first. Now, we love Clinton, Tennessee, and the legacy of Clinton 12, very important. I participated in that. But
they were a public school, and we were still under the belt. We weren't public till
That's right.
59, so they got us on that part
and
of it.
Rose worked hard on this.
Rose worked
but
very hard.
Governor Lee made sure, because the first year it didn't work out, it got forgotten.
Yeah.
This year it's going to be fully funded. We are going to have a civil rights park here in Oak Ridge, and I'm going to be reaching out to the highest levels in Washington. I'll talk to the President of the United States about this.
And without mentioning any names, there will be an effort to keep funding it in the future.
Yes.
Privately.
No question.
We got it. We got
And
the people.
but this is so important for all of our citizens. In
Sure,
Oak
they
Ridge.
need to know history. Me and you
Yes.
are historians. We love
Yes.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to energy for a second. I want to get that in. And let's see, do we need to take a break? Yeah, let's take a break, Brad. We've gone a long time. Thank you.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving the environment for generations to come.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, ID3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. ID3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
America runs on power, and for nuclear power, we need enriched uranium, but almost all of it comes from overseas. In 2019, the Trump administration took action, working with Centrus to build the first new American-owned uranium enrichment plant in 70 years. And now, Centrus is ready to expand to meet our nuclear power and military needs, free from dependence on foreign suppliers. Centrus, American technology built by American workers.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
You know, you have a $51 billion budget. You've got all of this stuff, but 8.3 or 4, whatever the number is, goes to EM, which is environmental management, which basically means that fissionable products over the years and plutonium products, well, same thing, I'm overlapping a little bit, have caused a lot of unusable land, unusable whatever, and different things that have to be done. Tell us about the EM mission coast to coast. Why is it so important? Why not just let it lay there for a few years and we'll come back to it?
Thank you for saying that. And let me go backwards to forwards. Right now, today, the way that we do this work in this nation, whether it's in Oak Ridge or at any of our other NNSA sites, is perfect. It's clean, it's environmentally safe, it's sound, it protects the workers. We get it right. Let's go back historically. During the Manhattan Era project, here in Oak Ridge, in Hanford, in Los Alamos, other sites across the country, and then later into the Cold War, because of our need to first beat Nazi Germany to be building a weapon, which we did, and Japan, which we did, and then to win the nuclear arms race against the Soviets, which we did. We were in this country not as safe in the way that we manufactured and basically dealt with the byproducts of the nuclear arsenal. What that resulted in, many communities, including Oak Ridge, if you will, contamination of the land, of the water, of the buildings, and there is a radiological, if not other legacy. In Oak Ridge, we have a mercury problem, which we're remediating. So pick the place across the United States: Hanford, Oak Ridge, Savannah River, Los Alamos. It is my fervent belief that it's the federal government's obligation to clean up these affected communities. For years, I have worked to do that here in Oak Ridge.
Yeah, you've raised the budget quite a bit.
Which with great success. And fortunately, we have a good contractor that gets it done.
Yeah.
But I want to see this done all over the United States. We've cleaned up places like Rocky Flats. We've cleaned up other places. Idaho is almost clean, believe it or not.
Nevada's getting close.
Yes, very close.
Our good friends Navarro out there, they've been worked hard.
They're out there. But there are several sites that need to be cleaned up, and we're getting it done. So first of all, it's an obligation, I think, of the federal government to these communities. Why? Because whether it's radioactive or whether it's plutonium in Hanford that are in tanks that are buried, and
it's a mess.
Potentially, maybe some leaking. It's a mess. We've got to clean that up.
And that river's not good, right? You're not going to
Columbia
swim
River.
the river.
Yeah.
We're not going to swim there.
We're not into the Columbia River watershed yet, but God forbid it could be if we're not careful. We've got to clean it up.
Yeah.
Here, we've got to clean it up. Huge mercury mission to clean it up. But the reality is, once we clean it up, what we do in our community is we get the property back from the Department of Energy, and I've been able to get that for free, okay? But once we get it back, we get that back to the city of Oak Ridge and to the county of either Anderson or Roane, and they get that on the tax rolls, and they can build new nuclear facilities. So that nuclear renaissance, and people, because of Bill Lee and myself and others who want to bring new nuclear companies to Tennessee, we don't have 350 square miles or 900 square miles, Savannah River and Hanford. We got 21 miles here in Oak Ridge, but they want to come here. So clean it up, revitalize it, and become back part of the nuclear renaissance. It's win across the boards. It's expensive, but when we do it right, and by the way, these are good jobs, high-paying jobs, and many people come from Morgan County, Campbell County, Scott County.
33%
Knox County, okay? And they come over here and they work on that.
So Loudon, there's some areas.
Loudon, everywhere.
I mean, you're hitting your, so explain something to me in the public for Hanford and some of these other sites.
Sure.
If you're not counting cleanup, does Hanford still run? Does it do anything?
Yes.
Okay.
They've got a national lab out there.
Okay.
They do other work that's important, but they get 1/3 or at least 1/3 of the entire cleanup or EM budget,
Which is probably fair. Yeah.
They deserve it, and actually in this budget, they emerge with flat funding, even funding,
they're exempt from cuts,
which is good. And every different site has a different problem. We don't have a plutonium problem because we're not a plutonium site. We had a uranium site.
Which for people that aren't scientifically aware, plutonium is much bigger hazard.
Yeah, and the like, but to uranium and plutonium, the first bomb that was made here. It was uranium. The second one was plutonium based. It was made out west, and Oak Ridge is still the uranium center of the country. It's incredible. We're building the uranium processing facility right here. So,
we need it.
But both are needed. Uranium and plutonium are both needed for different things. But
Pits relate to plutonium.
that's correct.
Uranium, we've pretty much got degrees in that stuff.
Indeed. But and of course it progresses. You've got LEU, you've got HALEU at 19.5, under 20%, and I cannot talk about weapons grade in this, but it's higher than that. Okay, yeah. But that's how we enrich. But reality is cleanup is
enriched uranium. Highly enriched allows you to do more things.
That's correct.
Okay.
The new Generation 4 reactors, or that's
just in general,
Kairos in Oak Ridge.
Big article on them yesterday.
Yep, they've got the Hermes reactor. Great company, doing great things.
But are all these companies still competing for HALEU? They can't,
yes.
Unless they don't get the HALEU, they're gone, right?
That's correct. Well, the federal government is going to be giving some of its HALEU that they've got to some of these companies at the front end stage, but we need more HALEU in this country. So
how do you build more HALEU?
You start to re-enrich. So you get companies like Centrus, Orano, and Urenco, and you say, we want you to.
So they start with a uranium product and they enrich it and make it.
Start with raw uranium, which is very mildly, you mine it.
Yeah.
And you can mine it in this country or in Canada. It's around the world.
And we're going to get some from Ukraine.
Yeah. You're going to get a lot from Ukraine. But you get that in its natural state.
See, I think the president has a clear vision.
Yes. Oh, he does.
I think he understands all and he's making things happen, except for the white spotted frog with all this stuff in his way, or whatever rare being. And I'm not making fun, and I am making fun, but I'm not minimizing it. It's just not as important. And
Donald Trump is common sense.
Yeah.
If you look at his situation, he is so commonsensical. And again, I'm not here to pick on my Democratic colleagues, but so many times they'll look at a situation and it's like, how do you come up with this solution? I mean, how do you not support secure borders and getting gangs out? And it's like, what are you thinking?
Because they're not us.
And that's
they're
right.
not us.
But I mean, there used to be a time in this country where Democrats had common sense. They'd fight you maybe on unions or on wages and minimum wage.
And those borders beat them. I mean, African Americans and Hispanic men were over 50% for Trump. People are tired of it, and the cities are tired of it. It's just too many people, undocumented, eating up all those resources
and putting these big cities into near bankruptcy.
Oh yeah.
And you can't then turn to your tax base and say, well, we're going to double and triple your taxes.
And they know why you're doing it. They know why you're doing it.
They know why you're doing it. You can't.
And those are the people that are dominating Democratic politics.
Yeah.
And they're the reason that we have an excellent chance to hold on to the House.
Oh, I think we will hold on to the House. I think we're going to grow in the Senate. The Senate map is better than the House map. The reality is there's probably going to be only about 30 to 32 competitive seats anymore. The key is will those solid blue districts stay blue? We made gains in some of them. Didn't get close enough to win the House seats, but we made some
But
gains.
the battleground is New York, always.
Always.
Up 5, down 5, up 3, down 3.
New York, California.
And I should say, upper state and western New York's the battleground.
Long Island too. Long Island too.
Long Island's got some. That's true. Okay, so we got some battles there. So going back to it again, what are the most contentious parts in the energy budget that will be the hardest to gain funding for? Where are people the most? Where are the Democrats going to come at us and say, "You cut this, you should have cut that"? What do you figure the battle's going to be over?
The Dems are going to come in heavy and still want all of that renewable, clean energy
Which was
emphasis. Yes,
70-80%.
Yeah, and they're not going to get that.
No.
Okay,
EERE and all that
that's
stuff,
right.
yeah.
And sadly, going out the door, and Chris Wright said this in his hearing, about $100 million just went out the door after the election. They forced it out, which was a shame. It'd be nice if we could claw some of that back. Okay, because I won't say
My suggestion was always go back to the 2019 budget and start from there, pre-COVID. But let me say this: I know you've gotten a lot in, but I'm talking about as a general budget kind of model. But let me say this: I think that I don't know. I think the 2019 budget or something more conservative. I mean, President Biden pushed hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and a lot of what they want cut, what the president has wisely cut, is stuff that's been added in the last 4 years. Get the referees off the court, Chuck. Get the regulators out of there. I hope Chris will do that.
Well, not only that, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC, a gentleman by the name of David Wright, who is going to chair that, he's already sat down with me. He came into my office. I asked him to come into my office, and he looked at me and said, Chairman, you're right. We've got to start getting things done quicker. And if it takes 4 years, I'll do it in two, I'll do it in one, I'll do it in 6 months. I said, get it done. Because while we sit around and make those mistakes on the regulatory side, I'll say the mistake is taking too long. We're lethargic. Get it done, get it out there, and let us compete.
You know they're going to have a hearing for TVA, right, coming up?
Indeed.
Indeed. TVA got to go back through it, get rid of the HEI stuff, and they got to go a different direction, don't they?
Well, all of that woke stuff has got to get out of that. Yeah. As a matter of fact, there was a complete rebid on that $900 million that I put up for SMRs.
Right.
And basically this administration told all of the bidders, including TVA, write a new proposal, get all that nonsense, and it's nonsense. We're here to get...
Does that mean TVA has to go back out and win again?
Well, they didn't win the first time. Okay. Remember, they all the companies that did that, and
I got you.
I want everybody in America, regardless of race, gender, to have a fair shot. But if we're putting dollars up, okay, for the purpose of getting a nuclear reactor up and built, let's put it on the science. Let's put it on the infrastructure.
Okay, 2 minutes. We got 3 minutes left. 2.5 minutes. Let's talk about Chickamauga Lock.
Yes, indeed.
That's energy related, right?
Well,
no,
it's transportation. Right. There is a Chickamauga Dam, which is not the lock, which many people have gotten confused. I've had PhD people come to me and tell me, well, what happens if the lock collapses? Well, you lose river traffic, but it's not going to flood the city of Chattanooga. But they got all that mixed up. But the reality is, I have funded Chickamauga Lock now for over a decade. It's going to need more money.
Yeah.
Okay. The Army Corps came to me. Remember, I'm Energy and Water Chair. If you stop anybody in Washington, they're going to say Fleischmann is synonymous with energy. Okay.
Lightning round. Hold on. I got to cut off that for a second.
Yes.
Governor Lee set up a nuclear priority for Tennessee.
Incredible job.
2 minutes. Tell me how that go. How's that going?
$50 million and then $10 million the following 10 at my request. Great idea. Bill Lee and Tennessee are leading all governors, all states in new nuclear. Other governors now want to meet with him and see if they can follow suit. It was ingenious. What he did, he put up dollars so that companies could come and apply for those funds. He's given some of it out. There's a lot more of it to go out. Just sheer genius.
My praise. Okay, you got 30 minutes. We'll go to politics for 30 minutes. You ready to run? Well, hope we don't have to. You're doing such a great job. I can't imagine any serious competition.
Thank God. We've pulled it, and I'm not, this is no hubris. Republicans, Democrats, and independents vote for me in huge numbers. Knock on wood. We hope that continues.
Yeah, expiability of a cannon. How much time we got, Brad? 20 seconds. 2 weeks, two different programs. We got a lot covered. Anything you want to say? Anything you think of?
Donald Trump's doing a great job. His cabinet is outstanding.
Love Chris
I'm working
Wright.
with him.
He's as competent as there is.
Chris Wright, a great secretary,
Yeah.
and he loves Oak Ridge.
Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.
America runs on power, and for nuclear power, we need enriched uranium, but almost all of it comes from overseas. In 2019, the Trump administration took action, working with Centrus to build the first new American-owned uranium enrichment plant in 70 years. And now, Centrus is ready to expand to meet our nuclear power and military needs, free from dependence on foreign suppliers. Centrus, American technology built by American workers.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving